I'm looking for the development of the Moonies in Korea, and its links back to the Republican Party, because I mean not the Republican Party alone, but its links back to the CIA. Because these guys who are like absolutely out of control, okay, they 100%. I mean, here, look at the New York Times. Unification Church called Tool. Washington, March 15. A House investigating subcommittee today released intelligence reports asserting that the Reverend Sun Myung Moon's Unification Church was founded by the director of the Korean Central Intelligence Agency, Kim Chung-pil, as a political tool in 1961. Okay. Those were among a sheaf of intelligence summaries. This is again written in the New York Times in 1978. Many of the documents were intended to confirm allegations that the South Korean government, under the personal direction of President Park Chung-hee, with the Korean government, came and organized an overt and covert lobby in 1970 directed at Congress and American officials. The documents further reinforced reports that senior officials of the Nixon administration were aware of the lobbying effort. Representative Donald M. Frazier, Democrat of Minnesota, who was chairman of the subcommittee, contended that the initiative for action pursuant to the intelligence reports were sporadic, half-hearted, and inconclusive, with the result that Korean activities, which were both improper and illegal, continued to expand and gain momentum for some 5 years. It's not a branch of the Moonies. The son of the founder left because he wanted more advantages and created his own cult in the U.S. around guns and Jesus. Yeah.
As the casket of former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe drove through the streets of Japan, thousands of people lined up to mourn, pray, and place flowers at the freshly dug grave of the beloved and controversial man.
You might be wondering, Hasan, this is Japan. You're so racist. Why are you looking at, Japan? What could the assassination of the former Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe, have anything to do with a Korean cult? Well, we're about to find out from this wonderful work conducted by Illuminati. That's right, because it's the same fucking church. Woo!
His followers and friends remember him as a man of great
Isn't it wonderful when you have one CIA asset, or rather, when you have the CIA create and craft a fucking psychotic church in an effort to, maintain anti-communist sentiment and whatnot, and complete and assert control over an entire country that's like a military dictatorship originally, only to then, build the Constitution and the political party that ends up ruling the other country, Japan. Both nations have been historically warring with one another. Japan actually enslaved a bunch of Korean people as well, Korean comfort women, and it did a litany of war crimes that it currently does not acknowledge, including Shinzo Abe's great-grandfather. But that's entirely separate. But isn't it wonderful when the CIA creates a cult, okay, and completely controls one client state in the South Korea, and then also then creates a political party in Japan, which is basically functionally a one-party state since its inception, okay? And then because they are both CIA assets and both CIA-controlled assets, they have to continuously maintain contact with one another so that the Japanese political party that was created has to allow the fucking Unification Church and the Moonies to operate inside of Japan, even if Japanese people as a whole literally have xenophobic sentiment expressed towards Korean people and vice versa for understandable reasons. And then that Korean cult is the reason why he ends up getting assassinated. And then because it's an actual fucking Korean cult on top of that, and the xenophobic sentiments expressed towards Koreans in Japan, the damn near entirety of the country goes, hold up, let that fucking assassin cook. He had some good ideas. And then the Japanese government has to capitulate to the basic demands, which were, not all that unreasonable, as a matter of fact, because the assassin killed this person due to him continuing to allow the cult to exist in Japan, who then stole a bunch of money from his mom, according to his own words, which led to the most successful assassination in contemporary history, honestly, of a political leader in a non-warring nation.
vision who had become vital in developing and maintaining peace between the Asian countries. No one seemed to understand how or why the longest-serving prime minister, who had resigned only 2 years ago, would be shot and killed. As the country and the world watched on in disbelief, news began to appear with a possible explanation for a sudden and horrific act of violence. Amidst the
He did a job. He did a better job than SEAL Team 6. Fuck yeah, he did. Not a single Black Hawk was exploded in the process of assassinating a political leader.
Chaos, one group started appearing everywhere you looked in relation to the shocking event: the Unification Church. News outlets began reporting that this was an act of revenge for the 41-year-old suspect. In the eyes of the shooter, the former Japanese prime minister was one of the many people he blamed for crippling his family. Nearly 20 years earlier, his mother had made a donation which was so large that it bankrupted the family. While the shooter claims that he had originally planned to go after the church leader, he turned his attention to Abe, who had become just one of the many politicians who had been associated with the group throughout the years. Shortly after the news broke, the leader of the Japanese chapter of the Unification Church, aka the Moonies, revealed to the world that the shooter's mother had in fact been a member, but refused to address the accusations that
I do think it's pretty wild that the Moonies also came out openly and stated, oh yeah, no, we did steal a fuckload of money from kid's mom. I mean, this dude's mom. Which is insane. Like, why are you flexing, dog? You couldn't get that shit out of me in a fucking black site, okay? CIA torture would not allow me to give that information up. Willingly, especially? What are you, fucking nuts? And now, of course, the Japanese government is forced to take action against the Moonies and how they operate, and even give financial compensation to those who have been afflicted, to have been affected by the Moonies, like literally farming dollar dues off of unsuspecting people in Japan.
Her gifts and donations had severely impacted her family's life. While the former prime minister's link to the church, who many call a cult, is documented through a video he sent 3 years prior, the leaders and many others remain bewildered by the resulting violence. As this story and its connection with the controversial organization continues to grow, it has led many people to ask the question, who exactly are the Moonies?
Woo! I love this video. Shouts out once again, Illuminati, making this incredible video. It's great. Let's continue watching.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Corporate Casket.
Did you miss the Twitter shit about Illuminati going crazy and called Legal a plagiarist for copying her editing style when it was something thousands of channels already did? I don't know anything about that. I don't care about that even a little bit. I don't give a fuck. Why are you bringing this up? Do you want me to just like have a fucking issue with the content creator over this shit? I like Legal. I like the Illuminati's videos. I don't care. Never bring up petty shit like this ever again. Especially not when I'm watching the video, because it's very clear that you are more interested in drama farming and causing chaos and controversy rather than actually enjoying the contents of this video itself. So shut the fuck up.
I'm the Illuminati, and today we're going to be talking about the Unification Church, a competing new world order that we all now have to deal with.
Wait, so was the assassin cool because I thought he was a part of the cult? No, he wasn't. His mom was. His mom was, and he tried to get her out of the cult, and he couldn't get her out of the cult, and they like literally milked her for like hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of many, many years, and he couldn't couldn't deal with that. He wanted to assassinate the head of the Moonies, couldn't do that, so he assassinated Shinzo Abe, who allowed the Moonies to operate in the country and collaborated with them throughout the many years.
You may know them as the Moonies. The Moonies have recently taken over the news stream after a person assassinated the Japanese prime minister for his supposed affiliation with the group. In the past, their relationship with Donald Trump had catapulted them into the spotlight, and their current use of AR-15s in ceremonies, because of the outlandish belief that Jesus had access to American-made munitions, is totally a thing, and that's raised quite a few eyebrows.
We've covered this guy many times on the fucking broadcast. These are the gun fuckers, okay? They literally marry their guns, dog. Like, remember when I said gun perverts want to fuck their guns? They want to fucking suck their guns? These guys actually do that, so.
The story of the Unification Church started with Sun Myung Moon and goes back when he was just 15 years old. And I'm just going to call him Reverend Moon from now on because, you know, pronunciations are not my forte. At this young age, Reverend Moon proclaimed that Jesus had come to him and instructed him to embark on a special mission on Earth. He had to go to Japan and America to make the world aware of the greatness of the Korean people, and that's exactly what he did. He would face extreme discrimination and brutality while in Japan. According to him, he lost count of the number of times he was arrested, beaten, and tortured by Japanese police. And honestly, that isn't completely surprising
Yeah, I was about to say, that part is probably true. Okay, let's
considering
continue.
he went into Japan to spout the idea that Korea was just so much better than they were. Eventually, he did come back to Korea, where again, they also weren't too fond of him and he would experience extreme hardship. Now, it was in 1948 and Reverend Moon had just returned to North Korea after years of traveling through Japan, preaching this supposed greatness and his goal to one day unify the world. His return to his home country was not a welcomed one, by the way. His constant preaching had
Until there were outside forces promoting him.
raised all of the wrong types of flags in his country, and he was arrested and thrown into one of the infamously brutal labor camps within the country. There, according to him, he was beaten endlessly and continuously told that he needed to
Bro, this guy got his ass whooped so much, dude. Turns out, you know, an ass whooping doesn't stop you, okay? Maybe re-education was a better move.
admit to his crimes. What these crimes were, I have no idea, though there is some speculation, and those speculation
Dude, he got his ass whooped like he was into it, dog. Like, he was like, this is my passion, actually. You're only making me stronger. Joke's on you.
is that it was crimes for spying, sexual assault, and bribery, just to name a few.
I believe that.
As the Korean War broke out, Moon remembers the walls of the prison falling, and soon, at around 2 o'clock in the morning on the next day, he walked calmly out of Hyunam prison with dignity. Shortly thereafter, he decided to start the Unification Church. From the very beginning, he set out with one key message that should be held tightly by all his followers as they worked to expand the organization. Their goal was to unify the world and save
Yeah, the church got $373,000 from his mother. The Shinzo Abe assassin's mother.
everyone from their inexplicable sins by turning the Unification Church into a world religion, followed by all. The question of how to do this was one that seemed simple enough to answer for the group: spread out. Go on missionary trips to all countries and all cities and spread the news about this great new church that allegedly hoped for world peace.
I wasn't going to tell you to stop watching, just letting you know that she was also emotionally abusive to her friends. I don't want to have you talk about issues unrelated to what you're talking about, but I don't want you to say something and have Twitter try and use it against you. Dude, what the fuck is going on? I already told you I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Okay? I don't care. You're still doing it. You're still doing the thing that you say you're not doing. Please. Like, I don't know what this is, okay? I don't know what's going on. I don't care. You're being like, look, if this YouTuber was like a rapist or something, okay, and you were like, hey, the YouTuber was like known to be falsely, presenting or misrepresenting information, or was like a Nazi, that's one thing, because that will change the content, that will change the commentary, okay? So that's different. But when you're like, oh, she was known to be emotionally abusive to her friends, like, I don't know what the fuck that is. I don't know. I'm not going to look into it. What do you want me to do? Go investigate that right now? We're talking about something entirely different. No, you did mean to do that. So stop. Please. I need to know more about Korean greatness, and you're ruining that right now. He got thrown in prison because he forced a woman to marry him while he was already married to the mother of his first child, so it was considered bigamy, which was illegal back then. Oh, shit, okay.
Peace and a unified world order. And truthfully, good luck with that, because it's a bitch of a market to break into. I should know, being the Illuminati knockoff, but hey, what do I know? But this church went beyond just asking to speak to some people. For them to be successful.
Okay, this is the only time I will stop this broadcast. You said, have you met Mr. Shakedown in Yakuza 0 yet? Yes, I'm like more than halfway done with the game. And yes, I have met him many, many times. I've only been able to beat him one fucking time. It is the hardest, toughest motherfucker to beat. It's insane. Those fight sequences are so difficult. I hate Mr. Shakedown. But I will tell you this much. The one time I did beat him, it felt like I came, okay? It literally it felt like I came. And I made so much money off of it. It was awesome. Wait, someone says shotgun? You can do that? The only time I was able to beat him. The only time I was able to beat him was when I did it with the breakdancing fight with Majima. It was so sick.
They had to dismantle communism, become leaders in every and all capitalistic ventures, and infiltrate the world's politics. while all of this may sound outrageously insane, they've actually been relatively successful in achieving it. And I don't know about you, but it sounds really similar to how the Empire rose to power in Star Wars. And if you know what George Lucas based all of that off of, there's that too. But hey, let's bring everyone together under one person with one way of thinking and one specific religion. What could possibly go wrong? Well, that was a rhetorical question, but the answer, of course, is a lot. A lot could go wrong. Still, the Unification Church became massive and widespread, especially after their move to the United States in the 1970s. So, how did they become so massive, and what was life like for their members? The path of recruitment into the Unification Church was one that involved the classic signs of brainwashing and trauma bonding, as young people who were often uneducated or recently out of school were brought in by current members. At first, the new wannabe members were showered with love and affection, otherwise known as love bombing. But soon, the mood changed. Members were told over and over that their past ways of living were sinful and deserving of punishment. But this new life would lead to unspeakable fortune, success, and fulfillment. Unfortunately, to get to that point, they would first have to complete a few mandatory steps. Stephen Hasan, who was a former member of the Unification Church, told his story of recruitment to The Guardian. He was 19 years old and was sitting in the cafeteria during the spring semester in college. Suddenly, 3 girls approached, telling him they were in a student movement and asked him if he would want to join. There didn't seem to be any red flags, and he even asked them if they were part of a religious group, and they said no, so he started going to a few meetings. It was there that he was told to drop out of school, donate his bank account, look at Moon as my true parent, and believe his parents were Satan. You know, the normal requirements for a school club.
One of my favorite Yakuza 0 side missions was also the cult one. What was it? The pee-pee cult? God, Yakuza 0 is so sick. Shuru pee-pee. Shurei pee-pee. Yeah. Shurei pee-pee. That's related. Nobody say tangent. Yeah, literally. And then you beat the shit out of a cult leader that's trying to fuck one of the members of the cult that you're like trying to get out of the cult. Yakuza 0 is an incredible game. Munancho!
No red flags there at all. Slowly, the group started to introduce him to the teachings of the church until one day they invited him to a special evening at their headquarters, which just so happened to be a giant mansion. There, they sold him on taking a special workshop and quickly dispelled any of his concerns by asking if he was close-minded. So they kind of got the, MLM formula down. Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss. They sold a 40-day trip as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to become better, and he was told that he would regret it for the rest of his life if he refused. So again, he agreed. He was placed in a dormitory and instructed to cut off all communication with friends and family. By the end of his stay, he was hooked. For the next 2 years after that point, he worked 21 hours a day on behalf of the group, giving lectures, doing PR, recruiting new members, and fundraising. He was told he had to make at least $100 a day, and if not, he would be kept awake until he could meet that goal. Now, to me, in my, humble opinion, that sounds like torture and a blatant violation of human rights, but okay. Like the others, he was kept away from his family. Kara, who had been born into the church and later got married in a spiritual ceremony held by Reverend Moon, staunchly remembers her mom leaving her behind with a nanny for 2 years while she was on a missionary trip for the group. But this was an honor, they were told. They were spreading news and ideas that they thought would change the world. Still, the news that the organization had been ripping families apart, sending children and parents away from their homes, and their families began to ripple through society. Slowly but surely, the truth seemed to come out. In 1981, the group sued the Daily Mail in London for libel after they revealed their recruitment and predatory practices to the world. After hearing from 117 witnesses, including current members and defectors, the Moonies lost their case. Soon after, the book, The Making of a Moonie, was released by a renowned sociologist, detailing how the group, or rather cult, recruited its members and grew their membership. But while all the horrifying news about the recruitment and the treatment of their members started to pop up in regular news streams and books, there was something else far more bizarre and captivating that caught the public eye. Before we talk about their shady backdoor business dealings and—
I don't understand how so many people fall for this. Brother, have you seen cryptocurrencies? Or let me tell you, cryptocurrencies for women, astrology, zodiac signs, goop, the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, People believe idiotic things. Any multi-level marketing scheme. There are billions of people on the planet that believe in at least one completely nonsensical, idiotic thing that you would laugh at, okay? Cults are no different. They fill the same void that people sometimes have that they need. You know?
Questionable rise in political power, let's talk about some of these weird.
What's yours? That I would be able to both chill with a bear and also a hippo. Both animals that are very, very violent towards humans. Depending on the circumstances, bears can be chill, but like. Not at the same time. You believe in spiritual shit? No, I don't. You mean a baby hippo? Adult hippo and a baby hippo. You have rocks at your desk? Do I still? No, I mean, I don't believe in any of that. I just keep them. But yeah.
Mass marriages that took place in venues like Madison Square Garden. It was a ceremony like no one had ever seen before, and it had all been devised by the Unification Church's self-proclaimed Messiah and his wife. As the true parents of their followers, they bestowed what was considered to be a great honor upon thousands of people, choosing their spouses.
Yeah, so I want to say the Unification Church controls most of the sushi business in the country, but from what I understand, the Unification Church is quite literally the reason for why sushi was so popular in America. I don't think that they control most of the sushi business in America now, but they are quite literally the reason why sushi is so widespread and so popular in America. Yeah.
Many of them came to the church young, full of confusion and hope that they could one day find a place to fit into the world. This is exactly what Reverend Moon offered them as he preached for love, acceptance, and of course, world peace. Decades after beginning the church, he would start the mass ceremonies to display the greatness of his new organization to the world and cement his legacy as the one and only Messiah, the true parent of his followers. Participating in a mass wedding ceremony was not handed out to just anyone. People had to show their commitment and true faith in the church and participate for years before being given the opportunity to be given a spouse. While some marriage pairings would be done with the assistance of testimonials and introductions of parents and families, others were chosen through one simple method: pairing pictures. Moon considered interracial and intercultural marriages vital to spreading his message of world peace and found it to be one of the best methods
This is one of the fun parts about
of annihilating the barriers between cultures to.
So one of the fun parts about it is like, look, the CIA giveth and the CIA taketh. With the Moonies, they were like pro-interracial marriage. With the Falun Gong, they're very anti-interracial marriage. Both of them are, of course, unified under the banner of being anti-communist. So as long as you're anti-communist, anti-socialist, no matter how fucking psychotic you are as a cult, the CIA will give you money and will do everything to ensure that you have a shitload of prominence and can utilize you as a mechanism of control in that country. Falun Gong, responsible for Shen Yun, 5,000 years of Chinese culture, most recently covered by the TrueAnon podcast by the wonderful journalists Liz Franzek and Brace Belden. You know, something I've talked about extensively on this broadcast is one of the more recent examples of this. Anyway. "5,000 years of civilization reborn."
Create a world in which everyone becomes one.
Wait, so Shen Yun is a cult shit? I always had that feeling. Of course Shen Yun is cult shit. Shen Yun is run by the same cult, Falun Gong, that is responsible for a lot of anti-China propaganda that you see in American newspapers. That also believes in things like evolution is a lie and miscegenation is the devil's work, and they also control Epoch Times, which and what is it? The other one is like CT. Is it CTN? One of those like weird YouTube channels that your grandma watches. NTD. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
While that may sound nice in theory, in practice, it's a little more complicated than that. Many of the couples did not share.
If you guys want to watch Racial Jake, here he is. This is Racial Jake. He might look a lot like Brace Belden if you're familiar with him, but this is a totally separate person. His name is Racial Jake. He's a tech CEO.
I felt inspired and filled with hope. I just said, hey, you know, these people can do these crazy flips up there. They have this dedication to Chinese culture. I mean, what am I missing from my life that I could also put that much effort into? I had an incredible time. I thought it was a wonderful performance. Yeah. It was really amazing acrobatics, and the music and the lyrics to the songs, too, are really...
I thought you said Racial Jake. Yeah, no, it is Racial Jake, but common mistranslation, they wrote Rachel Jake, but it actually is Racial Jake, yes.
Something else.
神韵舞蹈演员的精湛技艺令 Jake 感到不可思议。
Jake! He looks way too much like Brace. What the fuck? No. This is not Brace. This is not Piss Pig Granddad. This is not Mehmet. That's a very... You're a fake fan, Brace had the speller for them? Shut up, bitch. I know. I'm just fucking continuing the memes. This is not Brace Belden. Totally different guy. Common mistake, though.
叹为观止。
I thought they were just incredible. I mean, my God, I don't know how you could perform some of those. I mean, I don't want to call them stunts, but those dances, I mean, they were just amazing. Well, we should revive all traditional cultures. And I think traditional Chinese culture will definitely get a shot in the arm from Shen Yun. I just think you did a wonderful...
I think it's so... I can't. No, it's not the city... Yeah, he is actually the city council person from San Francisco. A shot in the arm. He's so stupid, dude. What the fuck? Yeah, from Shen Yun.
Wonderful job, and I hope to see it. I can't believe it's a new show every year. I'll go next year.
Jake 的公司员工高级软件工程师 Steven Goldberg 对神韵交响乐团赞不绝口，感谢神韵带给。
That is just also weird that like this guy looks like their producer, Young Chomsky. It's not him. Another common mistake. That's not him at all, actually. It's just weird that they just happen to...
意外的惊喜。
I went in not really knowing what to expect at all, so it really kind of blew me away. Yeah, very energetic, very colorful. I'm a musician, so I always enjoy seeing a live orchestra. So yeah, it was a lot of fun and a lot of surprises because I just didn't really know what I was getting into. Oh, it was great. I mean, always, bring something special when...
It's like the part where they bring out the organs in a cooling box. That, for me, that really hit me. That's when I realized the CCP is devastating.
The music's being performed live, as opposed to recorded. So yeah, I mean, they had a great sound. It was very lively, very energetic. A lot of fun to be in the audience.
新唐人
Okay, that's Walid. That's like Walid's merch. Okay, I lost my virginity at Shen Yun performing our show.
电视台记者李先送生话，纽约林肯中心采访报道。
Yeah, I love the part when they said miscegenation is evil and evolution is fake. Anyway, but that's a different cult for a different day and a different story. Now let's get back to this other cult that was also backed by the CIA.
the same language, had no understanding of the other one's culture, and found themselves thrown into a relationship with no ability to communicate. So of course, what could possibly go wrong there? Still, when the day came, most of the thousands of couples who gathered together donning traditional Korean clothing were smiling from ear to ear. This was the day they had been waiting for. As Moon and his wife eloquently enter the massive arena, sauntering down a red carpet, they lead the thousands of couples in chanting their I do's. Together, the betrothed promise their true parents that they will pass the tradition of the church on to their children. They swear to never divorce and teach their kids to commit to sexual purity before marriage. Tens of thousands of people would participate in the unification marriage throughout the years. This spiritual ceremony wasn't legally binding, but many of them later legally married throughout the years. But there weren't any of those pesky little wedding night jitters for these new married couples either, as the tradition called for them to wait at least 40 days after the ceremony to consummate the marriage, which probably isn't the worst idea in the world given the fact that most of the couples had only known each other for a few days or weeks at most, and some didn't.
Wow, you guys say this is a cult, but then every single one of you motherfuckers is watching Love is Blind on Netflix. All right, let's continue with this Korean church though.
Didn't even speak the same language. Some were meant to wait even longer. And why, you might ask? Well, some ex-members shared that there was an expectation that they wait 3 years and, of course, recruit at least 3 members to the church. I guess having sex while married was some sort of reward for their dedication rather than just, what married couples do. While the giant nuptials caught the world's attention as one of the most bizarre traditions of the religion at the time, there was much more
this is
going
the worst
on in
one.
the background.
Oh,
Like,
fuck.
did you know that couples actually had to pay for their
Okay, get the fuck out of here. We can't do this any longer. Let's finish this goddamn Korean church. Shit.
own ticket to go? It's true. Gotta pay to play and pay to get married surrounded by thousands of other people. Suddenly, the giant tradition seems to make a bit more sense. Imagine how much dough you bring in when thousands upon thousands of couples are paying for just one day, just marrying people to the bank. You see, the Unification Church is more than just crazy traditions. It's a business. One worth hundreds of millions to billions of dollars that only continues to grow. But hey, a giant religion that's actually $1 billion business with huge political influence? What else is new?
Like a good idea to me.
It wasn't long before religion manifested itself as a business. It started small and simple, with Moon and a few followers selling paintings of US soldiers and selling them to turn a profit in the 1950s. But soon, it would take off. Only 9 years after beginning his new church, Reverend Moon began to build his business empire. In 1963, when he founded the Tongil Group, which throughout the years would dip its hands into practically every business type imaginable, from teas, construction, magazines, soccer teams, and so much more. As Reverend Moon migrated to the United States in the 1970s, his business only grew, with different corporations popping up throughout the world. Now, when you walk into a restaurant or even a grocery store to get your favorite sushi, you usually don't think of where it comes from or how such a seemingly fringe fad in the world of food in America quickly became one of the most popular types of food. As it turns out, you have Reverend Moon to thank for that. The self-proclaimed king of the ocean aggressively advanced the prevalence of sushi in the United States through the help of some carefully planned marriage ceremonies, in which he paired Japanese people with Americans, and a call to his followers to open 1,000 restaurants in America. He established his very own fishing business, held tournaments for his followers, and even took over boat manufacturers to build his sushi empire. All the while, the members of the Unification Church were told that the building of this fish empire would be vital in ending world hunger. Many dedicated themselves to the business, holding on firmly to that very goal. But here we are almost 50 years later since the sushi explosion, and there's no end in sight for the world hunger problem, especially not from the Unification Church. Yashiro, who started a business in Chicago, told the Chicago Tribune, "I was wondering if we are really here to solve the world's hunger. Every day I pray on it." But he kept pushing, believing that his role for now is just to continue growing the empire and making as much money as possible. Maybe eventually it can end world hunger, he hopes. But newsflash, it won't. The business empire of the Unification Church grew rapidly. Currently, no one can be sure of how many businesses or how much money precisely can be traced back to the church. But people expect it to be somewhere in the billions. Even worse, almost none of that goes back to helping anyone, despite what the church will say. Instead, it either funnels its way back into the church, into the pockets of the followers, or to build the wealth of the leaders and their families. Capitalism at its finest. But it wasn't all rainbows, money, and butterflies for the founder. The fast-paced expansion of Reverend Moon's businesses led to some questions. Where did all this money even come from? The true answer to this is actually still a mystery. At one point, Reverend Moon
Where would it have come from? It's always the CIA.
Was financed by 2 Japanese billionaires who just so happened to be self-admitted fascists. But in 1978, it seemed like everything took a turn for the worst after what was deemed the Korea Gate bribery scandal. The scandal would uncover evidence that the Korean CIA had been funneling money through a Korean businessman, Tongsun Park, who was often referred to as the Korean Gatsby. Park would then use this money for bribes, or rather campaign contributions, to Congress. Soon, rumors began to fly that Reverend Moon was partaking in a similar scheme, and the
Wasn't the CIA? Yeah, no, totally. Definitely not the CIA. Guys, there's a K in front of it. It's totally different. Oh my God. It's the Korean CIA. There's a K in front of it. That's totally different. Oh my God, you don't understand. What's next? Are you going to tell me that Pakistan is also an American client state for the CIA? Stop it. It clearly very different. Okay? K CIA, very different. Okay? Please stop. Not the CIA objectively.
Congressional Subcommittee on International Organizations recommended further investigation into him and the church, saying that they were trying to build a worldwide government in which the separation of church and state would be abolished, and which would be governed by Moon and his followers. However, Moon caught a lucky break shortly after Ronald Reagan's election. Suddenly, all the investigations stopped, and the Unification Church and its
What? What a lucky break that was. Huh. Interesting. Not only that, but he also would like literally, I mean, these guys would go, I don't know if they went into the White House, but they had like very open seminars where they would welcome a bunch of Republican operatives as well.
its growing businesses could continue on without suspicion. That is, of course, until 1985, when he was actually convicted of tax evasion for failing to report $162,000 on his returns, leading to an 18-month prison term, which he served 13. Still, upon serving his time, he came back and just kept on building, right up until the day he died. You may be wondering, with all of this scandal, how did the church survive? Well, how do any good business conglomerates mixed with cult-like accusations survive their scandals? They were deeply entrenched in American politics. Now, this might shock you, but there's a reason Ronald Reagan saved them from being investigated, and it wasn't just out of the kindness of his capitalistic, commie-hating heart. So, practically since the beginning of the Unification Church,
Reverend Moon got his first introduction to a president because his church was hosting pro-Nixon protests during the Watergate investigation.
coming to the United States, they and the GOP have been best buddies thanks to the millions to billions of dollars donated to the original leader, Reverend Moon. While some money went directly to political candidates, much of the rest was shipped off to think tanks or even founding tabloids like the Washington Times.
What? No. Don't tell me that the Moonies founded the Washington Times. That's where I get all my information from. Stop it. Oh, next thing you're gonna tell me that my second favorite right-wing newspaper, the Federalist's founders and consistent donors are still nowhere to be found, and nobody knows who it is. And people sometimes speculate that it might be it might be the Gulf state leadership potentially. I don't even know. Epoch Times also, once again, as I explained, is owned by the Falun Gong. It's so weird how all of these fucking cults keep coming back to America and setting up right-wing newspapers. How does this keep happening? What is going on? It's so strange. Why is the Epoch Times owned by the Falun Gong, which is another right-wing cult that is anti-CCP, anti-communist, and funded and facilitated and supported by the CIA? Why is it that it happens that the Washington Times is owned and founded by the Moonies? Again, created by and defended by the KCIA, the Korean CIA. Huh. I didn't know Epoch was right-wing. What did you think? Yeah. It's so strange how all of these homosexuals keep sucking on my cock. Exactly. To do a call out to the Onion article famously. So weird. I just keep going around and these gay men keep sucking on my penis. I don't know how it keeps happening. It's just like I'm blacking out, and before you know it, I'm just waking up and my penis is getting sucked by a gay man. I don't know. It's very odd. It's so weird how my right-wing tabloid newspaper keeps getting funded and owned by ultra right-wing, ultra nationalist, anti-communist cults backed by the CIA. How does that keep happening?
Ronald Reagan's favorite newspaper, apparently. In 1991, another magazine owned by Moon, Insight, awarded a $5 million contract to Direct Mail. A few years later, Direct Mail Communications would be used by the...
Okay, I can't do this. I'm sorry. Fuck, this is getting really good, but I have to give her pets. Literally just a blob. Oh my God.
The Republican National Committee, George Bush, and even the NRA. Perhaps it's not a surprise that Moon was so supportive of GOP politics and spreading conservative messages given his change in viewpoint towards the United States. At first, when he arrived in the 1970s, he was incredibly complimentary of the country and its then conservative values. He even went and fasted on the Capitol steps after Watergate, praying that Nixon would not be impeached. But as things started to progress and change, civil rights, Roe v. Wade, rest in peace, and other progressive policies, his tune began to change. Do you know all of those, Satan has taken over American comments that we hear from far-right politicians today? Yeah, he was actually saying the same thing back in the 1990s. Apparently, Moon wasn't exactly thrilled that American women were starting to actually have some sort of freedom and autonomy.
Dude, Korean incels are so goated. They are my favorite. I'm not even kidding. I'm fucking absolutely fascinated by Korean incels.
He argued that once his movement gained speed and continued to grow, Americans would learn to let go of their individuality. That doesn't really sound like the best person to be deeply impactful to our political system, but those types of ideals sure do sound familiar, don't they? In 2004, shit got real weird. In March, Reverend Moon and his wife made their way up to the United States Capitol. You may assume that they were there for typical lobbying or to speak to a few senators, but no, it was much more weird than that. One day, a coronation took place, as well as an announcement that Reverend Moon was the Messiah. And I'm not kidding, in the Capitol, this happened. As he walked into the room sporting a crown on top of his head, politicians looked and listened on as Reverend Moon spoke in Korean, with a written interpretation in tow.
So weird. How did that happen?
He said that emperors, kings, and presidents alike had declared to all heaven and earth that Reverend Sun Myung Moon is none other than humanity's savior, Messiah, returning Lord, and true parent. There, he declared that he and his wife were the king and queen. And you heard me right. This unhinged egomaniac sat in the United States Capitol only to declare himself not only as the returning Lord, but that he was the king. Now, why did that even happen in the first place? Well, he and his wife had been invited to the Ambassadors for Peace Awards, and that's literally why they were actually there. Reverend Moon clearly wasn't going to miss the opportunity to talk about himself in front of powerful politicians, though. Keep in mind, this was decades after the Unification Church had already been called a cult that separates kids from their families. And after Moon had been in prison for tax evasion, but hey, that's all in the past, right? Well, to most politicians in attendance, it seemed like no big deal. Maybe
Tax evasion is like a fundamentally right-wing principle, so I don't think they have an issue with that.
because he was donating to their campaigns, but that's just an idea, just a thought, just a little thinky think. Nothing to really consider there, just an opinion. Even after cultivating a strong relationship with politicians and creating immeasurable, literally, footholds in the business world, something strange began to happen. It seems their scandals, mass weddings, and recruitment styles finally reached the masses, and their membership began to plummet. So they began to ask themselves, what now? And before we try to unravel and answer that question, let's just take a quick moment to thank today's sponsors. Shopping for clothes can be a daunting task. You never know. To ensure their ultimate survival, the Moonies found themselves with two options.
Forget about the mass weddings, dude. How about the fucking mass weddings, the AR-15s that the founder's son commits in the American branch, the separate American branch? We've covered that before. Least deranged gray name. Calm down. She's not chewing on something small. Okay, chill out. Yeah, he has a bullet crown and a camo suit, and it's fucking awesome. Not as awesome as the thrill of avoiding the top of the hour ad break, though, which comes at the top of the hour every hour. If you no longer want to see those ads, you want to enjoy the thrills of avoiding said ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime. By connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, where you get one free Prime subscription a month. Use it on your favorite broadcaster. Hopefully that's me. Instead of using it on the Korean Unification Moonies Church, use it here. Here's the 3-minute ad break. Now, Speed Razor, thank you for the 10 gifted subs, allowing 10 people to no longer see the ads at the top of the hour. MXM Gray, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Here's the 3-minute ad break now.
Options: adapt or fall apart. Now, they chose to adapt, and at first, it seemed as if they were heading in the right direction. The arranged marriages and the mass weddings had been paused for a few years, but they slowly started to reappear again. However, they were a little bit different this time around. Instead of Moon choosing the companions through the super informal and impersonal methods of just throwing a couple of pictures together because...
For the record, people asking me, how do we get to like Love is Blind in the middle of this commentary? We got to it because of this. Because they also applied the Love is Blind tactic. Our last strike until our ballot comes back in time for being all the shit hoops we have to jump through here, mate. What? What are you talking about?
Hey, he's got a feeling they'll work out. Parents were now in charge of choosing the matches for their children. Kids could even get a say. They don't get to decide, but hey, they get a say in the process, which is new and improved. Another change was focused on education. Prior to the onslaught of consistent negative criticism towards the group, many of the young recruits were college dropouts who had thrown their education dreams to the wind to join the group, traveled to new cities, and spread the word of their true parents to the world. Now, they were looking for college valedictorians. That seemed to make a bunch more sense given the community's emphasis and stark admiration of capitalism and the ability of their members, and of course the group, to make as much money and create as many businesses as physically possible. I mean, have you seen how many businesses are associated with the Unification Church? It's a lot. The new Moonie mission was to bring people back, and they did this by watering down some of their prior requirements. Before, most Moonies were required to give up their families and friends and sacrifice their relationships all in the name of finding and converting as many followers as possible. Philip Shanker, a longtime member, told NPR, "Although we talk about universal love and value of the family, we sacrificed our families to the extreme." And that was Reverend Moon's emphasis. He saw himself as a person who would sacrifice to create a family and gather followers, and then he asked them to sacrifice. He put his kids through hell, like Gandhi. Gandhi did the same thing in order to move India. Reverend Moon is trying to move the world. And listen, Phil, can I call you Phil? Calling Reverend Moon like Gandhi seems like a bit of a stretch to me. I mean, Gandhi had some issues too, for sure, but he wasn't out here telling people to literally try and take over the world so it can be unified. Usually, people who say things like that aren't exactly starting giant organizations for other people. There's just a tinge of narcissism in there, just a bit. Still, Phil claimed that the church had turned 180 degrees. It's all different now, all good, no more weird things. But hey, there's more time left in the episode, so you know that there's just a bit more going on. Because as it turns out, the new Unification Church is actually worse than the original, all thanks to the son of the original founder. In 2017, years after the death of the Messiah, Reverend Moon, his son created his own faction called the Sanctuary Church.
Yup.
Much of it was actually the same.
This
The new
part's
church
awesome.
brought along the same ideology as the original, but added one more thing: guns. Because isn't that just
Yeah,
what every
baby.
fanatical religion needs?
Look at that
Sean Moon
crown.
introduced AR-15s into the symbolism, ceremonies, and teachings. Why, you might ask? Well, he points to a passage in the Bible that says Jesus used a rod of iron to display his authority during the end of times. Even though AR-15s clearly did not exist at that time,
You're
Sean
wrong.
begs to differ.
You're wrong. You're a
He claims
liar.
that the iron
Okay, I
rod
take
in
it
the
back. I don't like Illuminati anymore. You're wrong. You're a liar. They did. It's real to me, damn it. Real to me, damn it. If the goddamn Mormons can think Jesus Christ was blind and blue-eyed, why the fuck can't Koreans believe that he had an AR-15, brother? That fucked up. Real to me.
thousands-year-old story was an American-made AR-15. And I'm 100% serious when I say that. Now, this absolutely insane human being believes that Jesus had an American-made AR-15. Sorry, I need to hold it together better. This was just not a thing. And also, just to have a factual moment here in this insanity, AR-15s are made of aluminum, not iron, so that rod of iron thing is kind of also debunked right there. Now, normal people have the far more understandable theory that the rod of iron was meant to symbolize a staff, and that makes sense, but no, not Sean. It was clearly a gun. So, due to this belief, AR-15s are now included in basically every type of ceremony possible.
And that's a crazy ass white boy right there. You know. Look at him. Like, I love this church, man. Finally, I found the church for myself.
And that's to include weddings. Talk about shotgun weddings, am I right? Now, Sean wears a literal crown of bullets during ceremonies.
Bro, you have to finally get to the point where you literally want to suck and fuck the guns, which they did. Okay? There's nothing like, come on now. Like, these are the real homosexuals. Americans like to talk a big game about how much they want to fucking suck the guns. Meanwhile, she got bored. She got bored of me fucking around with it. She's like, yeah, I'm moving on to a different toy. Meanwhile, you got homies that are actually sucking and fucking the guns. Where is your dedication? Okay? If you're some yee-ass motherfucker who's like talking a big game, oh, I go to the NRA, I pay money. I pay donations to the NRA, brother. They're protecting our Second Amendment to keep the first free. You know, that kind of thing. But then you don't suck and fuck your guns. You're not a real one. You're a fucking phony. You're a fake. I'll say it. I'll say it with my whole damn chest.
And has his very own gold-plated AR-15. I just...
Dude,
it's gold
fine.
now? Like, what
it's
is it?
fine.
Is it a rod
The
of
toy's
gold?
not
A rod of
breaking. Oh
iron?
my God.
Rock-
Even my mods are doing the fucking back seating. No, it's fine. It's like literally just a
small,
chew toy
okay.
that she like ripped the fucking piece of fabric off of. The toy is not breaking. Everybody fucking calm down, okay? I looked at it. Not as awesome as the Thrilling Small, okay? Chill out. The suit, and it's fucking awesome. Like, it's nothing. Everything's gonna be all right. Even the fucking mods are freaking out now. How is this happening?
Out of aluminum? Like, just get the story straight, buddy. Now, of course, this belief clearly has nothing to do with the fact that his brother, Justin Moon, owns Car Arms, a gun manufacturing company. I'm sure it's just a happy little incidental coincidence. No
Yes, it
connection
is.
to be seen here at all. In 2018,
exactly.
just a month after the horrific Parkland shooting in Florida, the church decided to have one of these delightful gun-heavy marriages, or excuse me, commitment ceremonies in a Pennsylvania church. There, with some members adorning AR-15s and of course bullet crowns, 250 people were spiritually married. But hey, the guns weren't loaded apparently, so no cause for fear. All is well, kiddos. And I say kiddos not as a joke, as a nearby elementary school had to close the day of the ceremony for safety concerns. Yeah, if a couple of 100 people who quite literally worship guns miraculously appeared down the street from my school draped in AR-15s and bullet crowns, I'd probably close the school down too, especially right after Parkland. Then in 2021, they found themselves in news yet again when our favorite former US president appeared at one of the meetings.
Yes, here we are. I don't know if she'll play that video, but I certainly will. On the 20th anniversary of 9/11, Trump is speaking at a conference put on by Han Moon, the billionaire widow of the Reverend Sun Myung Moon. She is seen as a literal deity by the Unification Church, aka the Moonies, a 50-plus-year-old violent Christo-fascist cult. Here is Donald Trump in all of his fucking glory. God, what a ledge, dude. Absolute fucking ledge. I'm going mental, lads. I'm going fucking mental.
I want to thank the Universal Peace Federation, and in particular, Dr. Hawk Jahan Moon, a tremendous person, for her incredible work on behalf of peace all over the world. Her story of escaping from North Korea at 5 years old, at the outset of the Korean War, is an amazing example of the power of faith in Almighty God. I also want to thank her late husband, Reverend Moon, for founding the Washington Times, an organization for which I have tremendous respect and admiration. I want to thank...
Wait, doesn't he literally say something at the end? Doesn't he speak Korean in this? Is that a Berenstein Bears moment where, like, am I misremembering? I thought he did, like, actually say some Korean words at the end of it. The Mandela effect. Berenstein Bears is the Mandela effect, for the record. That's like the same thing. Yes. No, don't move away. I have to move the camera again. Okay. Hakchan Moon. Beautiful, believe me. She's beautiful. Isn't she lovely, folks? I wonder who Trump stands on for twice. Is it Chae-young? Yes. Okay. Well, let's get to this. We'll get back to that.
It was the 20th anniversary of 9/11, and while past presidents all over the country traveled to speak to first responders or other survivors, Donald Trump didn't do that. Mr. Trump
has always been a 9/11 Andy. Like on this wonderful 9/11, I wish all my haters well. To all the haters and losers, a happy 9/11. Or when he talked about how 9/11 very terrible, but it made the Trump Tower the tallest building on Wall Street. Like, he did say that in southern Manhattan, which was very nice.
Decided to instead attend the Moonie Rally of Hope to give a speech on that day. Now, I'm sure you're going to be surprised by this next statement, but the Unification Church had been one of his biggest supporters, campaigning for him and even making an appearance at the insurrection.
Oh my God, he was at the insurrection. Let's go.
I'm sure this surprises nobody after learning more about them. So on this historic day, he sauntered his way into the building full of loving supporters to give a speech. While there, he congratulated the group on their efforts throughout the years to unify the world, and because he'll never miss an opportunity to talk about his absolute awesomeness, took credit for minimizing the threat of North Korea, who had been testing missiles while he took the presidency. So it seems the Moonies' political connections still run quite deep. This cult, perhaps, is one of the biggest we've ever covered. It spans multiple countries and has decades of powerful influence over international politics, business, and interpersonal connections. The assassination of the Japanese prime minister has shocked the world and has in turn catapulted the cult back into the mainstream news media. Maybe this will lead to a better understanding of the group, or maybe it will just be quietly swept under the rug like all of their past newsworthy moments. But with all of that being said, that is where we are currently ending today's episode of The Corp.
That was a great video. A little bit on the long side. I wish there was more about like how the cult was personally involved with how much money they like shafted took from the dude's mother. But anyway, you know how it is.